Hi everyone, hope everyone is well. Today I'm unboxing Eylau 1807 Battles of Napoleon from Sound of Drums, volume 1 in their new range. They sent me a test print copy that I did an unboxing of. This is the review copy. My understanding is it's 99% identical to the retail version. The first thing that strikes you is it's a 3-inch box. It's a considerable package. It's quite heavy. It's very comparable in terms of the weight and the size to a large GMT-esque game. It's got a fantastic finish on the cover. It definitely, as soon as you unshrink it, it's got a very luxurious sort of feel to it. What we'll do today is we'll have a look at the back. We'll have a look at all the components. We'll go through the rulebook, player aids, have a look at the map and the counters. If we have a look at the back of the box, we've got our game contents, two 88 by 56 centimeter map sheets, and we'll have a look at those. Over 1100 counters at 15mm, with over 280 alternative counters as well. 125 coloured wooden cubes, 2 army charts, 2 player aids, 2 counter trays for those of us who like to put our counters in trays. You get some trays as well. Excellent. 4 dice, and of course the rulebook. Playtime 180 minutes plus. Complexity right in the middle of, so medium. Solitaire suitability sort of above average, sort of the higher end of medium suitability. My understanding, this game does not have a solitaire bot. You'll be playing the game two-handed, and we'll have a look at that when we've looked through the rulebook. Again, very nice finish, looks great. The game includes 5 scenarios. There's a small scenario. We've got a cavalry charge of the horse, which I'll be very excited about, and a few others, and then up to the Le Grand Battle scenario. So looking forward to cracking this open and going through all the components. So we'll make a start with the rulebook. I should have said, I think the cover is very nicely done, and full colour rulebook, very nicely laid out. One of the things that I was very impressed with the preview copy was the quality and craftsmanship of the graphic design on this game, and this looks to be equally, if not better. So in terms of pages, we are 33 pages, including the credits and so forth. So we start page number 5. So it's not 33 pages of rules, as it were. Again, very nicely laid out. Nice big font. We've got a description of all the different units. Grenadiers, for example, the Lancers, excellent. The Cossacks, different types of artillery. Heavy French horse, for example, there. Goes through how to read the units, all the different stats on the units, and we'll have a look at the counters. Again, great examples of the different types of counters. So we've got our division leaders. We've got some alternative alternative leader counters, if you prefer. Sequence of play, weather determination, order phase. What else do we have? First player, activation segment. Going through all the different phases. Weather, as we mentioned in the scenario description, looks like there are different weather types for the scenarios, as you would expect. Snow. So the weather is either clear, snowfall, or snowstorm. Historical weather is an optional rule. I will probably play with that, as I like to play my Napoleonic games with as much historical setup as possible. Then we are into our command range, which is where you'll be using some of the cubes, wooden cubes, all the different orders. It's interesting, a retire order. Very nicely laid out, very spacious, instantly looks easy to read. One of the things that I was very impressed with in the preview copy that I got was the quality of the prose. So the standard of writing I thought was very good, very clear, very nicely done, very nicely laid out. I'm going to whiz through this. Simultaneous fire segment here, for example. So this is a rule book that clearly is taking its time in going through the rules. So it will take a little while, I would say, to digest this level. But then this is a medium complexity Napoleonics game. It's what you would expect. It's what, as a keen enthusiast of Napoleonic wargaming like myself, appreciates. Stacking. Player may stack up to 2 infantry battalions, 2 artillery batteries, or 1 cavalry regiment in each hex. Cavalry can never stack with infantry or artillery. Okay, fire combat. We've got some examples of line of sight, which is excellent because that's one of the nuances, I think, of a lot of war games is their line of sight ruling. So I'll be interested to see how they determine line of sight. Assault, again with some examples, both written examples, which is great. I find that often I'll play a game, or learn a game, by going through the examples with the counters in front of me in the charts. Helps me understand the game. Retreats. Oh, okay, so then so by page 32, we're at the end of the rules, and I think we've started at page number 5. So 27 pages of rules. So a good, and I can see just by the way it's laid out and the clear. One of the things that helps me, I don't know if anyone else is similar, I'll be interested to hear in the comments section, is I really do like rule books that spaciously lay out points rather than massive blocks of text. I find it much easier to digest, and more importantly, I find it much easier when I'm playing through the game the first few times to go back to the rulebook and find the rules that I need quickly. So yeah, I'm very thankful for the way that in that manner. Got glossary and credits at the end, and a couple of pages of notes. Excellent. This looks extremely good. I was very impressed with the preview copy of the rulebook, I have to say. I'm looking forward to going through this rulebook and digesting all the different rules and trying some of them out, and obviously playing through the scenario. There is a separate scenario and history book that comes with the game, so we'll have a look at that next. Yeah, here we have the scenarios, notes and history book. It's a separate book that comes with the game. I prefer that format. I do like games that have a separate book for the rules to the scenarios. I find them much easier to digest in the reading and in the reference when I'm playing through the game. Table of contents looks to be about 18 pages. Here we are into the scenarios. So we've got 7th of February 1807, the battle for Night Quarters. This is a learning scenario. Starts at 2 p.m. Last turn is at 6 p.m. There's some special rules. We've got the setup for the French, reinforcements, and the Russians. Looking at the number of units, if we look at the Russian units, for example, we can see the 8th Division, 16 units, and the other divisions, 14 and 9. Then we've got the massive cavalry charge, or charge of horse, as I would call it. Special rules, victory conditions, setup information. There are no reinforcements for this scenario, and the same with the Russians. So again, looks to be more units. Starts at 11 a.m. Last turn is 2 p.m. So we can see there's a probably, as you'd expect, an increase in the length of a scenario, time it takes to play, more units, etc., etc. Maybe more special rules, and so forth and so forth. Yeah, we can see straight away. You can often tell in a war game the not always, of course, the length of scenario is simply determined by the amount of pages it takes on the scenario book. So we can see each scenario. Interesting. For example, this particular here uses only the north map. I would imagine that maybe that's the same with some of the shorter scenarios. Let's have a, yeah, for example here, use only the south map. So if you're a bit shorter on time or space, you only want to play with one of the two maps, then this one here uses only the south map. Then you can do so, which is great. I am very lucky. I do have space for games at 2, 3, 4 maps, but often not always the time. So it's great that you've got that level of flexibility for the player. And the actual main battle itself. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yeah, the main battle itself, Battle of Eylau, 8th of February 1807. We've got all of our details set up and so forth. Looks great. Okay, now we're into one of the parts of war games that I particularly enjoy. Notes on the order of battle and division. So we've got some historical background, which is very welcome. So if you don't have a huge number of historical works in your collection, that's okay, because you've got here what is clearly a very detailed and very readable account of the history, which is great. I love to be fair, I've got many books on Napoleonics. I never have enough, so I'm very thankful for that, and I think it'll be great for the player who's maybe not quite so familiar with this particular historic event. I've got some designer notes. It's always interesting to read designer notes, to see the thinking behind some of the mechanics and some of the creative choices that they've made. And again, very extensive, very detailed. Again, nicely laid out, nice and spacious, full colour, as you would expect. Bibliography. I enjoy these. I have often hunted down several historic works based on the bibliography that the designer has included. So I will be going through that and my own collection, seeing what I've got and seeing what I don't, and then spending a lot of money on some of these, I can imagine. Yeah, it looks absolutely like the rulebook. Nicely laid out, full colour, very spacious, looks first glance to be extremely readable, and a very welcome addition to the game, in my opinion. So looking at some of the player aids, this is one of the examples. Here we've got our French army and all of our different corps, and we've got some horse and cavalry here as well. Again, very nicely laid out. This is mounted. It looks very durable. Very nicely mounted it is too. It's got a fold down the middle. And the coloured cubes that you'll be using, the wooden cubes, and this is one of the examples where you'll be using them on, very nicely finished. I've got just a couple of examples here. Very nicely manufactured, very clear, very nice, good quality, I would say. And again, very nicely laid out. Everything's very spacious. One of the things that I liked about the preview copy that I got sent, and certainly this is definitely the case in this copy, is that the publisher and the designer and the artists have all thought very extensively about the player experience. So as a gamer, having these devices laid out in front of you, how readable, how usable they are, very spacious, and lots of information as well. So very nicely done. This is our fire combat table and terrains effects chart. Again, very nicely laid out. There are not a huge amount of charts for this game. What's interesting in the production is this is mounted. It's actually like a thick stock and double-sided. I'm going to look at the other side in a second. Again, very nicely laid out, very clear. I'm looking at the firing strength points and the die roll chart, which is one that you'll be using extensively through the game. Here we've got a terrain effects chart, movement cost, so hex side slope plus 1 movement point, for example. the effects on combat, well, fire combat and charge, and any notes as well. We've got our dice roll modifiers for fire combat, and for example range artillery as well. So you've got to hand all the different aids that you need. And if we look at the other side, you get two. So I flipped the other one over just for the ease of this video. Then we are into our assault and charge table with an overview of the procedure and all the tables that you need. Again, very consistent with this game. It's very, very readable. Very clearly, spaciously laid out. I can get to the points that I need to quite quickly because these are player aids that you'll be using extensively. I think the idea of mounting them is great, and just giving them that bit of space that you need as the gamer is super important. So again, these look absolutely fantastic. Here we've got the French Army Order of Battle. This is one of the player aids that you'll be using. It is a larger, as you can see, it's physically a larger format. It has all of our divisions for the various corps. It's quite extensive, again, nicely laid out. I would say, looking at my camera, the print is a bit warmer than what you're seeing on camera. It's because of the lights, and it's a wintry cold day here in Lincolnshire, here in the UK. Again, very nicely done, very nicely laid out, and very spacious. So there's also one for the Russian forces as well. It's just exactly the same format, but just details the Russian Army Order of Battle. That absolutely looks fantastic. One of the things that I do like about this game, and this is a sort of an example, it's got that Napoleonic theme in the font that's been chosen, in the layout. It definitely is very strongly thematic to the history, which as a Napoleonic enthusiast I really appreciate. So next we'll have a look at the counters. You get the counters in the game shrink wrapped in this sort of format, and what we'll do is we'll have a look at all the counter sheets and we'll punch a few and have a look at the final counters. So here we've got the counter sheets. I've zoomed the camera in a little bit so we can see some of the detail. What I instantly can see, very nicely laid out, very clear, all the numerics, so all the information that you need from a gameplay point of view. Obviously got some foot here, etc, etc. Double-sided, sorry, as you would expect. If I turn the sheet over, there we've got some Russians, some French here. I'm just going to put that sheet back so we can see the other side of it. There we go. Very nicely done. You do get an awful lot of counters in the game. It said on the back of the box when we looked at that, I think it was over 1,100 counters plus alternatives. So if you prefer one style of counter to another, then you can do so. In terms of the finish, punching them out, we'll just take one out here. As you can see, straight out. And absolutely, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, there's no, what I would call nibs. Beautifully finished. Absolutely beautifully finished. They are amazing. And they all punch out. Just, let's do a couple more. Oh, yes. Strange the satisfaction you get as a wargamer punching counters off out the counter sheets. You're not going to need to do any finishing on these at all. They look incredible. Just punch out completely effortlessly. There's no tearing, no ripping or anything like that. Just punch out so easily. But also the frames hold them nicely as well, so you can move the frames about. But yeah, it's very satisfying, I have to say. But yeah, the quality of the counters is great. The thickness, nice and chunky. Technical term that. But they look great. And if we look at the actual, maybe let's have a look at the Russians now. If we look at the actual, what I would call the cut, so when the cut happens on the sheet, this is why you have all this bleed. So if the cut moves about a little bit, it's absolutely fine. And I can see the cut is very nicely done. It's not cutting into the information. So the print production quality looks first class. Very nicely done. I'm just checking as I would do myself. Years ago, I used to be a print buyer, so a long time ago. So yeah, it's very good. Very good. There's no cut that's cutting into any of the information at all. Very nicely done. Here we've got some more Russians and some gameplay counters. Again, let's just push one out. Let's just see if it's consistent across all the different counter sheets. Yes, it is. Again, no blemishes, no cards, pieces of card, furry card, or cardboard that needs trimming. Nicely rounded edges. They look stunning. That's just very good. More counters, gameplay counters here. Again, nicely done. More gameplay counters. You are getting your value. You're getting your money's worth in terms of the components in this game. I think these are some of the. Remembering the rulebook, these are some of the alternative counters if you prefer. These look like step loss-esque counter recorders. Look very nice. Again, push out very nicely. I don't know if the mic's picking the sound effect of as they're pushed out, but yeah, these look absolutely exquisite. There's a tremendous job on these. They look absolutely great. Graphic design looks brilliant. Very easy to read, very clear. It helps with the history, of course. We've got the Russians and the French. Very clear. The two sides, the readability of the counters, the usability of the counters. Cannon, artillery here. Very, very clear. Very, very nicely done. I do appreciate personally. I like the artwork of the characters here, the historical characters here on the counters. That's how I would choose to play. But I like the fact that you get some alternatives that you can make your own choice. Brilliantly done. Here we've got one of the maps laid out. There are two maps in the game, both paper. I'll try and do a shot that can show both of them in situ. But this is the southernmost map. And we've got here our compass, so north facing that way, south facing this way. The things of note are how I would describe the map in terms of the art. It's definitely very functional. It's very clear, the contents of the hex. So from a wargamer's point of view, it's a highly functioning map. Both the landscape, which is obviously because of the history, it's in keeping with that. It's very clear the content of each hex from a gameplay perspective. And I would say it's not a fussy map. It reads really straightforward. I think it'll look great when you've got all the counters on. I'm looking forward to getting it onto the table. It's quite interesting weather, just from a graphical point of view. The turn and weather. Here's a circle, which is unusual. Quite thematic, I feel. I really like it. And just the overall graphic style of the map is very thematic and in keeping with the history. I've got a light on the map, so the actual tonal colour is a little bit, looking at my camera, a little bit cooler than the finish on the actual printed map when you get it in front of you. So just bear that in mind. It's a little more blue on my film than it is actually in reality when you've got it in front. That's again because of the lights that I use, and it's a cold winter's day here in Lincolnshire. But look, the map looks great, absolutely great. The paper is nice quality stock. It is single-sided, So you'll get 2 paper maps to show the 2 parts, and we'll have a look. I'll try and get a shot. This table is big enough for this game, but it takes a bit of work with the lights and the camera, but we'll see if we can get a shot showing both maps in situ. So what I've done here is laid the 2 maps and connected them. They do connect very well. There's plenty of overlap between the 2 maps themselves. I should have said, if you are more familiar with inches rather than centimetres, roughly speaking, each of the 2 maps is about 22 by about 34.5, something like that, inches. So when you've got them both combined together, it's just off a square, really, as you'd expect. I would normally play with paper maps. I'll be using Plexi. I've not put them on Plexi on today because this is more of an unboxing, and I'll be getting lots of flare where the light sort of hits the Plexi, just shows white on the map. You can see there's a little bit of flare in the corners there. That's because of the lights that I'm using. Even on paper they flare a little bit. But if you're playing under Plexi in the normal home conditions without these massive lights that I use for the YouTube videos, you'll be absolutely fine. And again, the maps themselves, putting them next to each other, very clear, very playable, very user-friendly, nicely thematic. I like the colour tones. I think it will make the counters really pop because the counters are so rich and colourful, with the the blue for the French and the green for the Russians. So I think they'll look great when you've got all the counters on the maps. Very nicely done, very user-friendly, very readable, very thematic. Overall, great job on the maps. They look absolutely fantastic on the table. I actually got sent a pair of mounted maps, so I just thought I'd talk about them briefly as well. I believe from the publisher, they are an option add-on if you prefer. Some people like paper maps under Plexi, some people like mounted. I'm quite happy with either. I normally play on paper under Plexi, but certainly making YouTube videos, they're a bit of a nightmare because of the flare, the reflection of the light. It looks identical. This is the most northern map. Just realised I kind of got it upside down, it doesn't matter. The finish is very nice. That's what I'm really interested in, just the quality of the mounted map. The finish is very nice. It lays perfectly flat. So if you do prefer mounted maps, they are available, and the finish is excellent. They've sort of got a really nice feel to them. It folded out perfectly. I literally just unfolded this seconds before pressing record. So as you can see, it lays absolutely brilliantly flat. So if you prefer mounted, then I would go for that if that's what you like. So overall, first impressions, extremely good. The production quality of the game is it's incredible. Quality of the components, the counters, the fact they punch out so simply, they look amazing. Some of the best punched out counters I've ever seen. The map is lovely. Graphic design of everything is fantastic. Value for money, looks incredible. I mean, you get a lot of stuff in this game for your money. You got your counter trays, the cubes, the counters, the maps, the player aids, the books, etc. So I'm looking forward to getting it to the table, but certainly first impressions, extremely favourable. This is definitely, just in terms of the physical production of a war game, it's definitely easily one of the best I've seen. So really looking forward to getting into the table, playing through the different scenarios. I will do a full review once I've played through all the scenarios multiple times, both playing it solitaire and playing it with another player, which is how I like to play these sort of games. But certainly if you backed the game, I think you're going to be very, very pleased with what you receive. If you didn't and you're interested in the game, I looked Second Chance Games here in the UK, have it on pre-order. I'm not sure about whereabouts, if you're in the States or outside of Europe, where you can buy the game from. Maybe if someone knows, or the publisher could put something in the comments on this video, that would be wonderful, so we can share that information with the community. But certainly yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting this to the table. I was very impressed with the preview, the test print copy that I got sent um, towards the back end of last year, and this looks even better, I would say. So yeah, looking very. In fact, to be honest, I'm going to go through the rule books for the rest of today, get the map out on the table, get some counters, and start going through the mechanics. So, uh, if you're interested or you back the game, or interested in learning more, please put something in the comments. And thanks a lot for watching. As always, take care. Thank you.